Every discipline begins with a question, not a rule, not a formula. A question precise enough to justify the cutting. So here's the one we're opening with. When did story stop being something we experienced and start being something we measured? This is Investigation, Anatomy of Story, my personal journey to find the hidden patterns beneath all stories. If structure became gospel, then something had to be first to speak its language. Someone had to look at stories not as mystery or magic, but as phenomena, observable, comparable, diagnosable. To understand how modern rules took hold, we have to go back, not to Hollywood, not to studios or screenwriting manuals, but to the moment story was first pinned down, mapped and named. Before formulas, there was a blueprint. Before commandments, there was observation. Before doctrine, there was anatomy. And at the start of that lineage stands Aristotle. Not a screenwriter, not a dramatist, a student of cause and effect, trained in diagnosis, asking a dangerous question of tragedy. What is this thing actually doing to us, and why does it work? This case file isn't about rules. It's about the moment story became something you could take apart and the cost of mistaken description for instruction. Every case starts with a pattern. Sometimes it's a fingerprint. Sometimes it's a blueprint. Sometimes it's not what you find, but what you can't. The negative space that tells you more than what's visible in the harsh light of day. This one's ancient, older than film, older than the page itself. Before story was written, it was performed. And watching from the wings was the man who'd put the first grid over chaos. The original architect of emotion, drawing boundaries where before there had only been raw and tamed feeling flowing like wine at a Dionysian festival. His name was Aristotle. And he wasn't some distant marble statue. He was the son of a doctor, a man who grew up around blood, diagnosis and cause. He learned early that everything that lives can be opened, studied, understood. Where others saw mystery, he saw mechanics. Where others felt awe, he reached for his scalpel. His mind was the coldest, clearest thing in Athens. So when he looked at tragedy, he didn't see art, he saw anatomy. Characters were organs, plot was circulation, and emotion was the pulse. Every tear, every gasp from the audience, he measured them like a physician counting heartbeats, nodding to himself as if to say, yes, just as I suspected. He wasn't trying to mystify story, he was trying to explain it. He was a scientist long before anyone used the word. In the shadow of Plato's mysticism, Aristotle walked with his feet firmly on the ground, collecting evidence, building a case file on what makes humans feel. And what he wrote became the first postmodern on emotions, poetics. The original crime scene investigation of the human heart, what breaks it, what moves it, what makes it surrender. 2,000 years ago, he charted the rhythm of tragedy, beginning, middle, end. One motion, one purpose, one release. Simple as a knife cut, clean as a whispered confession, inevitable as dawn after the darkest night. He called it nemesis, imitation, but what he meant was reflection, story as mirror, showing us our faults so we could feel them, bleed them, purge them. He understood that humans needed to witness destruction to feel whole, needed to see hubris punished to remember humility. For Aristotle, story wasn't entertainment, it was preventative medicine. Catharsis wasn't applause, it was therapy. The audience felt lighter, cleaner, having witnessed someone else's fall. A viscerous execution, saving us from our own worst impulses. The centuries pass, the torch goes out, the stage changes shape, classic wisdom gets buried, rediscovered, reinterpreted. The trail goes cold, then hot again. Enter Gustav Freytag, 19th century playwright, man of logic, student of precision. The Germanic mind meeting Greek insight across the chasm of millennia. He dusted off Aristotle's case files and found new evidence. Freytag looked at Aristotle's motion and decided to measure it. He turned feeling into geometry. Exposition, rising action, climax, fallen action, denouement. The messy business of human passion mapped with Teutonic thoroughness. 5 points, not 3. A mountain to climb and descend. Tragedy became a triangle. Emotion became math. The organic became mechanical. You could almost hear the clockwork ticking beneath the skin of every story. And it worked. From the Greek chorus to Shakespeare's soliloquies. From Casablanca to Titanic. The rise and fall still pulls us in. The pyramid stands, despite earthquakes and modernism, postmodernism, experimental narrative. Some truths can't be subverted because they're written in our nervous system, not our textbooks. The pattern holds: curiosity, escalation, confrontation, collapse, resolution. It's the rhythm of the chase, the interrogation, the confession. The guilty always rise before the fall. That shape is wired into us. It's how we breathe, love, fight, live. It's the arc of a single day, a love affair, a lifetime. The trajectory of a bullet and the path of a tear are sisters under the skin. You can't kill Aristotle's rhythm. It's in our blood. You can chart Jaws the same way. Act 1, the bite. The beast rises from below. Act 2, the hunt. Men pursue it into its element. Act 3, the showdown. Nature and humanity collide in bloody resolution. The pyramids still standing, even underwater. Freytag gave writers a language for tension, a way to see story as motion instead of mystery. He let us track the criminals we call plot, predict where it would strike next, anticipate its movements. Aristotle gave us curiosity. Freytag gave us control. Between them, they built the skeleton every story still stands on. The ancient Greek and the modern German, conspirators across time constructing a framework that would support the weight of human emotion. But bones alone don't move. A story needs muscle, contradiction, risk, instinct. It needs the unexpected swerve, the hesitation before confession, the look that says more than words. Structure without surprise is just an empty house waiting for life to move in. Learn the geometry, then walk away from it. The pyramid is the classroom, the page is the street. Therapy prepares you, but instinct solves cases. Sometimes you have to throw away the manual to catch what you're hunting. Aristotle didn't write poetics for poets. He wrote it for truth, to understand why we watch and why it turns so good when the ending hits. He was after bigger game than technique. He wanted to know why humans need story like they need water. So yeah, he's the first suspect. And Freytag, he's the accomplice who cleaned up the scene. They left fingerprints all over the craft we call writing. Every screenplay is a crime scene where their influence lingers. So what have I learned? Story didn't become something we measured because Aristotle wanted to tame it. It became measurable because he was trying to understand its effects. He wasn't writing rules for writers. He was observing patterns in audiences, fear, pity, recognition, and asking why those responses kept repeating. Aristotle didn't turn story into doctrine. He turned it into language. The mistake came later when description was mistaken for instruction and anatomy was treated as law. Structure didn't begin as a cage, it began as a lens. And like any lens, it only helps if you remember to look through it, not worship the glass. There's a downloadable PDF with the case files waiting for you. It's your written brief for everything we've covered here and how to use it in your own writing. Details are in the description. I'm Terry Dre. This is the investigation Anatomy of Story. Case file 4 is now closed. Till the next one opens, be seeing you.